Welcome back to another episode of Marketing Girly by Sky Society. Today I am talking with Natalie Rao, the Senior Manager of Public Relations and Affiliate Marketing at Brooklinen. Welcome, Natalie.
Thank you so much. Excited to be here. This is my first ever podcast. So,
Yay, excited to have you. Excited to talk about your journey. What we're going to talk about today, we'll talk a little bit about Natalie's role at Brooklinen, but also what I'm super excited to dive into is her journey here. So, Natalie has worked in music journalism to music PR to then a more traditional PR agency. Then to PR at Brooklyn and now affiliate marketing. So like all over the place, going from like creative to analytical. So I'm super excited to talk about and dive into your career journey, Natalie. But before we do all of that fun stuff, can you tell me a little bit about who you are and what you do?
yeah. So, my name's Natalie Rao. As we said, I'm the Senior Manager of PR and Affiliate Marketing at Brooklinen. Brooklinen is one of the largest DTC home essentials brands in the United States. I live in New York. For listeners who live in New York, you may have seen us on a subway ad. You've maybe heard of us on a podcast. We're one of those brands that just seems to be everywhere, kind of follows you around on the internet.
Yes, absolutely.
If you haven't heard of us, we sell sheets, towels, robes, all direct to consumer, and all really with the intention of just keeping our customers comfortable and cozy at home. And at Brooklinen, on the PR side, I really develop our earned reputation as a brand, which is kind of the whole idea of PR in general. Really, our organic reputation that's not essentially paid for like you would with traditional marketing. I mainly do this by developing really strong relationships with editors. So, editors at a lot of top media outlets, a lot of those are based in New York, and getting Brooklinen placed in media articles. I also do a lot of our external facing communications. I write our press releases when we have news. I media train our company leaders for interviews or appearing on podcasts like this one. Kind of all the things you would expect from a PR rep at a brand like Brooklinen. And I
Mhm.
actually did that for 3.5 years. Almost exactly a year ago, I got the opportunity to also take over our affiliate marketing channel. So affiliate marketing, I feel like the best way to explain it is with an example. So if you're reading Cosmopolitan and you're reading an article about the best sheets for couples, and it says at the top, Cosmopolitan might earn an affiliate commission if you click on a link and buy a product.
Mhm.
That's essentially what affiliate marketing is. It's the engine that drives PR for a big brand. So I have the relationships with the editors, but I'm also working on the back end with the commerce reps. I'm setting up commission rates. Sometimes, if you see someone doing an exclusive sale with like a wire cutter, that would be an affiliate marketing team. I also manage credit card campaigns. So, if you have an Amex card and you get a cash back offer, that's my team. If you use Rakuten to get cash back, that's my team, and stuff like that. So, I think it's really interesting. Traditionally, PR and affiliate reps come from very different backgrounds. PR is very creative. It's not as grounded in data, whereas affiliate marketing is a lot of numbers, it's a lot of Excel, and it's really based in budgets and revenue. A lot of companies have them sit separately, but I feel very lucky that at Brooklinen we sit together and I've been able to kind of explore them together. I've been diving really deep into data, really deep into Excel, and it's never something that I thought that I would do based on my background, but I'm learning every day and really enjoying it.
I love your explanation of that. My question was going to be how do the two relate, but I feel like you really answered that by how you explain affiliate marketing. Um, I know you mentioned like that typically they're separate at different companies. So having it together, is it allowing, I'm imagining it's also like a lot of work to be able to like manage both of these channels, or how have you been able to kind of juggle doing both of those things at Brooklinen?
Yeah, that is an awesome question. I have an awesome team. So we have a really great PR manager who really drives a lot of the PR function, and I've kind of been able to step back a little bit from that part of it and dive a lot deeper into affiliate where it kind of needed the help. I have an awesome senior associate who reports into me on affiliate marketing. So having a team in place is really important. Um, I would also say that I'm trying to think of, of how else you juggle it. It's challenging, but being able to dive into like what really is important and test and double down on the things that are working for your channel kind of helps you manage both.
Mhm. Now, with affiliate marketing. So this is like a newer area that I'm starting to learn about through the podcast. Actually, the guests have
Mhm.
kind of like introduced me to this area that I didn't really know existed.
Yeah.
But like when I hear this, my immediate thought on my head is like we all know like we read the Vogue articles like 10 best products. Like
Mhm.
recently I think I was looking up like 10 beauty products that Hailey Bieber uses. So how authentic are articles like that when there's maybe like a financial incentive for that media company to link out to a certain product? Or maybe can you share like a little bit more of like what that I'm sure is the negotiation just financial? Is a negotiation also on like product fit? And like I'm super interested.
Yeah, that's actually one of the big reasons why we say that both are so important because you really need a good PR person who is developing the relationships, is building the messaging around the product and actually like doing the editorial work to get that product placed. But I would say in especially in 2024 and moving forward, not having an affiliate program is going to really work against you.
Mm.
So most of those outlets, probably every single product that's in there is an affiliate partner. However, a lot of the outlets, the editors aren't really privy to the discussion. So outlets like Wirecutter, they're completely separate. So the editors actually don't even know what the commission rate is, if there's a commission rate. Me
Mm.
as a PR person, I'm not allowed to talk to them about it at all. And then their commerce team is the one who is setting the commission rate in the back end. So there are outlets who are doing the work to kind of make it like a church and state situation where the editors aren't privy to the details, and that keeps them a bit more unbiased and allows them to really
Yeah.
just recommend the products that they love. There's also outlets like Good Housekeeping where they have a whole lab where they're doing these crazy tests on a lot of the products that they recommend. So they have like a pulling machine that like rips sheets apart to see how strong they are, and they're testing to see how they pill. So they have a whole team of scientists behind their articles. So they're not going to recommend an article, even if you went to them and said, I'll pay you, $100,000 to put us in there. A lot of the outlets still really have editorial integrity. But you do have to have an affiliate program to kind of play in the space in 2020.
Okay. So maybe like Good Housekeeping, for example, they're doing an article on the best sheets and they do all this testing and Brooklinen's number one, obviously. Will they then go to you and then say, hey, like we did this testing, we want to feature you like in this, article or whatever that we're coming out with, and then you guys will then like negotiate what that affiliate deal looks like? Is that sometimes how it works where it's like almost
Yeah,
reverse?
for newer outlets, that would be kind of like the discussion. A partner like Good Housekeeping and most of the national media outlets, we've had those relationships for years. So it's more like they have a general commission rate in place. And anytime they feature us, they're going to add their affiliate link and it's going to ensure that they get that commission rate paid out. But say there was like a brand new publication that was gaining a lot of speed and they wanted to work with us, they would come to us. We would have a call with their commerce reps just about percentages and where we would start them and where they could go if they do well. And then on the PR side, our PR reps are working with their editors and they're sending samples. Maybe they're getting coffee to just talk about the brand. And it's much more of just an editorial conversation that the editor might not even be privy to what's going on with commission rate.
Okay. So interesting. And then, so also talking about like affiliate versus influencer marketing is a huge, and this is a guess because I'm not in the industry, but with affiliate marketing, I'm obviously you like hinted at that your job is very Excel heavy now.
Mhm.
Is it just a lot easier to track ROI and that's why it's like a big initiative, or do you even like compare what you do in affiliate to influencer?
I wouldn't say that we compare them. I would say that they're different, like different pieces of the marketing pie, and they're kind of
Mhm.
reaching different kind of consumers. Both are really kind of steeped in numbers, and you can look at the ROI for affiliate. It's pretty easy. You just are looking at the revenue that each outlet is generating per month. You can dive deeper depending on the tools you have to see like how many of a certain product did they sell? Are they selling products that they haven't even covered and maybe their readers are resonating with it? We actually have a separate influencer team at Brooklinen that are awesome and they are kind of tracking their own ROI in their own ways. But the cool thing about Brooklyn is like everyone is seen as kind of like a piece of the pie that's very important. And we're all kind of working together. Some companies actually have affiliate and influencer sit together though. So
Mm.
it kind of just depends on where you're working. I feel like affiliate, PR, influencer, they're all
Yeah.
kind of getting involved. I've even seen search kind of getting involved with affiliate marketing. So it's an interesting piece of marketing that's very new, that's touching a lot of different areas.
Yes, very exciting space I can imagine to be in. Okay, so I feel like I understand a little bit more about this affiliate side of your role. So now on the PR side, what is like maybe one of your favorite parts of the PR portion in your role? Or like what part of that do you just really love doing?
Well, I love being able to be really creative. So I have a journalism background. I've always been a creative writer, and being able to just write a lot in PR, I think has always been the thing that I like the most about it. At Brooklinen, we have a very fun brand voice and we can be really silly in our pitches and like have fun with media. Last year or 2 years ago now, my building actually didn't have gas for like 3 or 4 months, and that was during the winter months. I promise this is related to PR. And I was telling my manager about how Brooklyn and flannel sheets have been like saving my life because they're so warm and I'm so cozy in them.
Aw.
My apartment's freezing. And she was like, you should turn that into a pitch and like just send it to a few of your friends. So I wrote about just like the slippers I was using, the flannel sheets, like the space heater that I have, and pitched that out. And it maybe didn't turn directly into a story, but all my media friends were like, oh my God, this is so cute and fun. And that part of it has always just been really, really fun for me.
I can imagine. So on the PR side of your role involves maybe more writing, more storytelling, more communication, and then the affiliate side is a little bit more like analytical and data driven.
Absolutely, yeah. And both of them definitely are relationship driven. So
Mm.
there's hundreds and hundreds of editors, especially in New York. There's a lot less affiliate reps, I would say, but the relationships with them is very, very important. And I love at Brooklyn in that our affiliate relationships are just as important as our media relationships. Our PR team does also get to plan like events a couple times a year where maybe we'll have a big press preview for our holiday collection or something like that. And we invite all of our affiliate reps to come as well because, they're working with the editors also. So that part of it is really cool and applies to both PR and affiliate.
Mhm. Has it been or was it difficult for you going from a very like creative and more PR heavy background to then having to spend a lot of time in Excel and with numbers? Because I know a lot of the girls in the Sky Society community would maybe like identify more with being like creative marketing girlies, and
Mhm.
analytics can be a bit intimidating. So how was that transition for you?
It was definitely a big challenge. So to provide even more context, so we had an awesome affiliate manager here who really built the program. He got a great opportunity about a year ago. So he left like a month before Black Friday, which is like the
Oh
biggest
my gosh.
biggest moment of the year for us. And it was definitely overwhelming. And the I would say the absolute biggest challenge has been learning Excel, learning how to budget, learning how to forecast like how much the channel is going to spend. Um, it was hard, and I think I went into it just trying to be nice to myself and trying not to pretend that I know things that I don't. So if I'm in a room with our senior manager of search and our director of growth, like not pretending that I know if they're talking about something in Excel that I'm like, this makes no sense to me. Like just being comfortable not knowing what I don't know. And I'm definitely very lucky that Brooklinen's marketing team is so lovely. I can always tap someone on the shoulder. Literally 2 days ago, I tapped someone on search on the shoulder and I was like, can you help me with this thing in Excel? Like, I'm trying to figure out why this formula is not working. And they all have trained me over the course of now a year, and I'm still getting caught up with it. I would say it took like 6 months to start to feel comfortable doing that kind of stuff. But there were days where it was very stressful, but I've tried not to be daunted by it because you just don't know what you don't know, and you just kind of have to put your head down and just jump into the weeds and try to learn. So that's definitely been the hardest part.
What advice would you give to somebody who maybe has a new role and it's going to have an analytical component that they're a little bit scared of, or maybe they get promoted and data becomes a bigger part of their job? Is there any advice that you would give them?
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of just being very honest in your role and being able to kind of show up as who you are. And I think, the vast majority of people out there understand that if you've been promoted into an analytical role or you're stepping into a new role like I did, that they're not just going to expect you to know everything overnight. So don't be afraid to lean on your mentors and your managers and also like your cross-functional partners. I hadn't actually worked with the search team very much before I got this role, so it did come down to me just putting myself out there a little bit and asking for help. I think sometimes that can be really hard and you just want to like put your head down and figure it out yourself. So definitely asking for help. Also, like YouTube videos about Excel. Like I literally just found a beginner's course for Excel on YouTube and just took notes. I have a Google Doc that I can still go reference when I need to remember like quick functions and stuff like that. Um, and just try to learn and know that you'll learn by doing, and there'll probably be days where you're staring at all this data and you're like, I have no idea what's going on. But you will get there and you will figure it out.
I love that. I also love YouTube University.
Yes, yeah, like there's anything that is still now, like it's either YouTube, I'll ask ChatGPT for help if I'm like
Yes,
trying to
yes.
figure out how I would calculate this. Like ChatGPT is amazing for that.
Yes. That has become like a massive crutch for me. Like it's too much where you can just I also love the little voice thing on Chat GPT because you don't have to form your question perfectly. I feel like especially for Excel, I can imagine it being very helpful when it's like, hey, like I'm trying to do this thing, but I don't know how to do it. I can imagine chat would be like so helpful with that.
Yeah, I've never actually thought to do it that way, but there are certainly times where I'm like, it gives me an answer and I'm like, actually, I meant this. Like,
Yeah.
can you, I phrased it the wrong way, but it's super helpful. I think as a PR person, I was like so resistant to it. I was like, I'm a creative. Like, I don't need ChatGPT. But for like the Excel stuff, it is so helpful.
Yes, definitely try the voice like on your phone. It has been a game changer for me because I feel like sometimes when I'm typing a question to ChatGPT, I'm trying to like type it perfectly, like you said, when it like doesn't give you the right thing or something. But when you are using your voice, you can just elaborate more.
Yeah.
And so you don't have to be as perfect. I also use it like around my apartment. I used it the other day because I needed to change light bulbs and I was like so confused by the little thingy of what type of light bulb I needed. So I just sent a picture to ChatGPT. I was like, can you tell me what type of light
Wow.
bulb I need to buy? Um,
I didn't even know that you could do that with it.
like I said, I use it too much, but I have so much fun trying to figure out how to use it for like random things.
Uh-huh.
I use it as I probably shouldn't do this, but I use it for like legal advice sometimes, or just like little stuff like that instead of like
Yeah.
having, yeah. But side note, anyways, ChatGPT can be super helpful. So let's rewind a little bit, Natalie. Turn back the clock because while you are here within PR and affiliate at Brooklinen, you have a little bit of a career journey that took you all over the place, and you started in journalism for music. Is that correct?
Yes. So I studied journalism at the University of Florida. You definitely learn all like mainly like news-based journalism, like hard news there. But I did start writing for our student newspaper. They had a little entertainment section that I wrote for. I ended up being the editor when I was a senior, and kind of just fell into music and at the time thought that like, okay, if I could try to make a career in music journalism, this is what I would love to do. I would love to interview artists, cover events, and do that kind of stuff.
Okay. So, what was kind of when you started in that space, did it feel like it was where you were meant to be? Did you really like it?
I did. I don't want to say that it's straightforward because it's not, but it was straightforward in a different way than PR kind of is. PR, you have your hands in like a million different things and you're doing a lot more. Journalism is a little bit more straightforward in terms of like the work that you're putting out. But I always loved it. I would say like the most fulfilled I ever felt when I was doing it is when I would have an interview with like an artist that was touring in Gainesville or something, and we would just have like an awesome interview and I would get good feedback and be able to publish that. That's where I always was kind of the happiest. And that kind of my senior spring turned into me thinking a little bit more about PR because I was getting pitched by PR people. I would have people like friending me on Facebook, like somehow getting my email. I was writing for a music blog at the time, so it was a lot of like electronic music PR reps who were reaching out to me. And at this point, I was trying to think about post grad, did not have a job, and was just thinking about like the job security that I would be able to have in music journalism, um, or like even being able to get a job in general because there's just so few jobs in that like specific niche. So I ended up reaching out to one of these PR people that was pitching me all the time and just asking him if we could get on a call and talk about what he does. And during that call, he shared that he was kind of thinking about hiring an assistant. And would I be interested in working with him because he was weaker on the writing side and was better kind of on the relationship side. So that's how I sort of started working in PR. I just was writing press releases with this freelance PR consultant, and pitching them out to editors. So that's where the switch kind of happened.
Okay. And how long did you kind of stay in this space, or were you just at one company doing this? Did you move to a couple other companies?
Yeah, I probably freelanced with that freelance rep for like a few months, and then it was literally like a week before graduation. I was trying to figure out where I wanted to move. I was hoping to move to New York or LA and maybe get an internship somewhere. And I think I probably was just searching like job boards, searching Google for like music internships, and there was a boutique PR agency in Brooklyn called Plexi PR that was hiring for a summer intern. It was like three people who worked there. They worked with the Brooklyn Mirage, which I feel like more people know now. Back then, it was still a little bit newer, few music festivals and stuff like that. And that little bit of experience I had doing PR with this freelance consultant was able to allow me to land an internship there. So that's the other main role that I had in music. I did 6 months with this boutique agency in New York.
So, music industry, like specifically, like I get a lot of questions around career, but music is
Mhm.
definitely an area that a lot of girls are interested in working. Do you have any, because I know you kind of you had some experiences before that allowed you to land this internship
Yes.
post-graduation, but do you have any other advice for someone who like really want to work in the music industry, like that is their dream? Maybe they don't have a lot of experience, like any tips you can share there?
Yeah, I think you really have to be comfortable putting yourself out there. During that time that I was trying to get that internship, I was connecting with whoever I could connect with, literally just to talk to them about like what their jobs were. My dad's colleague at work had a daughter who was going into music PR, so I asked to talk to her and just hear how she had gotten there. Through my music blog connections, I knew of an artist management person and just asked him if we could talk. I think a lot of people are hard, like find it hard, especially now to like reach out to someone and be like, can I just take you to coffee? Or like, can I talk to you on the phone? But I think that's really what you need to do to actually be able to make those connections. Um, and working your network is really, I think, the way that you can kind of like break into it. And it may have to be in an internship where you're just putting your head down and learning. For me, my internship was unpaid, and I was lucky that I had a support system where I was able to sell my car and move to New York and have a few months to kind of figure it out. And I know for a lot of people, like doing an unpaid internship is not something that is an option for them. So I think I got a little bit of a dose of reality when I moved to New York and was working in music. And at the time, I had met my fiance and we had started dating. I really wanted to stay in Brooklyn, and I just kind of had to really think about um, what could I do that would like allow me to be stable and stay here. I also was working weekends a lot. You do not have your weekends free when you work in the music industry, and you're working late into the night, especially if you were working in techno music, which is what I was doing. And I loved it, but as I was like growing a little bit, I was just starting to think about like what I really wanted out of my career. And for me, I was like, actually, maybe I want something that's more stable and more of a 9 to 5. And then I can still pursue like this passion of music on the weekends. So I still go to shows. I still have like friends in the music industry and am able to just enjoy that in my free time versus dedicating my whole life to it. And my friends who are still in music, I'm like, they have just been really committed and have said like this is what I want and I'm gonna make sacrifices to get there. And I think it's not like a fun reality, but it is like that is kind of the reality of the music industry. Like you are gonna have to work really hard and it's hard to kind of like make it and get somewhere where you would be really like financially stable. But it is possible.
Yeah.
I just think you have to work your network and like really put yourself out there to kind of break in.
I'm glad you opened up and shared that because I do think sometimes with these like dream jobs or industries specifically, the reality can be like what you said. Well, it sounds super awesome, but you will be working really late on weekends, or you may not be able to make as much as you want. And everybody has their own needs, right? What they need to get from their
Yeah.
job. And so you figuring out, hey, like I have this passion for music, but like I don't need to get that from my work, right? I can do that in my personal life and like have that passion there. And like what I need right now is a little bit more job security. I feel like that's sometimes the unglamorous decisions that go behind career moves that you may not really get to like see or understand, but I think are very real and very genuine.
Yeah, definitely. I've had a lot of conversations too with like my little brother is just starting his career and
Oh.
he's very like in an industry he loves and he's very happy. And when him and his girlfriend were interviewing for jobs and just like kind of trying to figure out where they were going to land first, I had so many conversations with them just about like be open, like it may not be like the dream job that might not be the first thing that you're going to do, but like you're going to learn and you're going to get experience and you maybe will be able to kind of like make a move into somewhere where you really want to be in the future. And I think that's something that's hard for a lot of people starting out too is like I wanted the dream job. Like I
Yeah.
wanted to work in music and like still be this like free-spirited person that I feel like I am. And for me it was just a different reality and I ended up working in corporate like a little bit more corporate PR for a while at an agency and then was able to make that transition to Brooklyn and be at a really fun startup. But it took, over 2 years to get to that
Mhm.
point.
Yeah. Your brother's very lucky to have you as an older sister to
Oh,
give
that's
him that advice because it's so true. And like the best thing you can do is think long term for your career. I always give the advice of like think not the job that you want immediately, but what's the job that you want after that. And
yeah.
sometimes a little bit of a reality check too for recent graduates that there's so much competition for those beginner roles in top industries. And I always say sometimes like you never know like for example, I think I just posted a job on TikTok about Sephora. Sephora's hiring an internship.
Mhm.
The video got like 100,000 views in a day because everybody wants to work at Sephora. Like, right, would be a dream
Yeah.
internship. But just because you don't get the job at Sephora doesn't mean that you can't work in beauty or that you can't work at Sephora one day. It just means that like right now is not the time. And the best thing you can do is figure out how to build as much experience as you possibly can, because then who knows, like maybe later on you can then even like get above the person who started their internship at Sephora because you were able to get so much more experience elsewhere that when you moved over to Sephora, you had a much more experienced background to be able to start there. So you never
Yeah.
know.
I feel like that open like that's a whole other like rabbit hole we could go down too because a lot of these big brands and I think it's something that people might not realize I would say the same like maybe go to a PR agency where you're working with a lot of different kind of brands and in-house brands like love when someone has agency experience because they know that that person knows how to juggle, maybe 6 different clients at the same time. So it is definitely okay and in some cases it might put you ahead to maybe start out an agency where you're working with smaller
Mhm.
brands and then you can make that jump
Mhm.
in-house when you want to go there.
Was that your experience working? So after you went over to an agency that was a bit more corporate, how
Mhm.
did that kind of change your career trajectory?
I feel like it opened up like so much for me. So I was working at a lifestyle and kind of home design agency in Manhattan. And it was just like a crash course in how PR is like done in New York. I was working on anywhere from like 4 to 6 clients. We worked with Angry Orchard Hard Cider. I worked with Haichu Candy. I also was working with like Prudential Financial and like just interesting clients in like a ton of different fields, and had to learn how to be really creative and in some cases kind of scrappy to earn coverage. It was not any brands that are like Brooklyn and that are sort of a media darling and have affiliate programs that are um, earning a lot of coverage per month. And I feel like it just opened my eyes to like all the different kind of stuff you can do. So I was building mailers, I was helping out with events, learning how to do PR, and just seeing that there's like so many different companies that you could go to. And Brooklinen is a brand that I became aware of like probably through doing PR at an agency here in New York and just seeing like all the great coverage that they got. And it was just really, really helpful. I worked really hard and I learned how to juggle my time in a different way than you would juggle your time in-house. And I think it just like opened up the whole world for me here to kind of just like see what more I could do. And then I've been able to do that at Brooklyn, and by being a part of a marketing team, now I'm seeing like all these different areas of more traditional marketing and seeing like just so many things that you can do that like when you're first starting out, you just don't even know a lot of
Yeah.
these exist.
It's always interesting. I now, like, after doing this podcast for a while, if I could like start my marketing career all over again, I would go to an agency because guests can't seem to recommend it enough.
Mhm.
For like very similar reasons as what like you shared. You just get to like learn everything and work with the different clients, and it's just such a great opportunity, at least from what I've heard, for in terms of learning a lot when you are like new and starting your career. And then a lot of the guests will then do what you did and then go in-house
Yeah.
and expand from there. So yeah, I know. Would you also recommend that for someone else to kind of do the agency career? Do you feel like it's best just to go straight to in-house?
I think both are great options. Like I don't think one is right or wrong. I think an agency background will be really helpful for you because I just know that in-house brands, like when you have one, like if I were to open up a role tomorrow for a senior associate of PR, um, I would definitely be looking at people who have agency experience just because you kind of know like how hard people are working there. But also when you're part of an in-house team, like you get to dive way deeper into a lot of tasks and think in other types of creative ways that you maybe wouldn't be able to when you're super, super busy at an agency. And if someone had in-house experience with like any sort of brand, I think that would be really attractive to me too. So I don't think and I'm a big proponent that there's like no right or wrong decisions in your career.
Yeah.
There's just decisions, and like you choose your choice, and then that's the path that you're on. And I think that has helped me free myself from some of the stress of like, is this the right decision? Is this the wrong decision? Like both are going to have pros and cons. And both are good in their own ways.
Yeah. Yeah. What would you say is one of your like biggest learnings, at now you've been at Brooklyn for a little while now. What is something that you feel like you've really learned about yourself in this role, or a way that maybe you've really grown?
Oh my gosh, I think my confidence at Brooklinen has grown immensely. Like when I started there, I remember we had waffle towels coming out. This was in 2020, so like everything was virtual. I hadn't really met any of my team yet. And I really wanted to get our waffle towels in food publications because Brooklyn, and that was like one of the only places that Brooklyn and hadn't really been covered that much yet. And I had an idea to send the waffles alongside some like Waffles and Dinges, which is like a fun waffle company in New York, and just kind of position them as towels you can use in the bathroom, but then also like the hand towels are great for in the kitchen as well.
Oh, that's so cute. Oh
It
my
was really
gosh.
cute. It's still one of it was like 5 years ago now, but it's still one of my like favorite things that I've done at Brooklinen. And I made a budget. It was like $1,000, and I brought it to my manager, and she was like, "Sure, go for it. Just
Oh
do
my
it."
gosh.
And I was like, "Okay, I guess I'll put a
Now
thousand
what?
dollars on the card." Like I was just like, I was not confident yet. I was kind of like waiting for someone else to sort of tell you like, okay, this is what you should do next. And I think my manager did such an amazing job of just encouraging me and letting me know that like if you have an idea and you can kind of back up why you want to do it, like I'm game and go for it. And that was always something that like during my yearly reviews and my like bi-yearly reviews that we would do in the summer is just to work on my confidence and know that I know what I'm talking about. And there are people above me at Brooklinen who, if I make a mistake or they think they can help me with a strategy, like they're going to be there to help me. And my confidence from where I started to where I'm at now, and just being able to even like talk to our CMO or our CEO and say, like, I think this is the right move. Here's why, is just like you could not even probably compare to where I was at when I started. So
Oh,
that's the biggest thing that Brooklyn has given me. And that's like testament to my team and the leaders there. Everyone like really wants each other to succeed.
I love that. I feel like confidence in yourself, I think, is one of the most like strongest things that you can like take with you,
Yeah.
anywhere you go within your life. Um, and yeah, I know like I've like touched on imposter syndrome a lot, and I think realizing like that everybody has that, and that building that self-confidence is just so invaluable. It is my like favorite change to see in other people. I
Mhm.
also like I even in myself, when you like look back on years ago and you're like, oh my gosh, like is that even the same person? Like I
Yeah.
feel like I've grown so much. Is such a great feeling to have.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a year ago when I was got my like role overview for what I was going to do on affiliate marketing now, I was like, oh my God. Like, have I bitten off more than I could chew? Like, a lot of this doesn't even make sense to me. But I do feel like I was able to use everything I had learned and just say, like, okay, slow down. Like, you're not going to be expected to do all of this on week one. I think that's another thing that when you come out of college, you're like, you've taken classes for a semester at a time and you're like, okay, I want to learn everything like in a month or 2 months. And that's a big thing that I tell like new graduates. It's like, it's probably going to take you 6 months to even start to feel comfortable. And like, then you're still going to be learning. Like, you're never going to know everything. And I think that's actually a strength, is to be able to say, again, going back to the like, you don't know what you don't know. And like, it's not a weakness to be able to say that and be able to just like show up as yourself and be able to learn. And it really takes time. It takes years and years. And I'm still learning a lot every day.
Yes. Well, hopeful to hear. And I hope people can feel a little bit more calm listening to that of like, it's okay if I don't feel my most confident now, that's just going to like develop over time and with practice.
Yeah. You're probably gonna feel uncomfortable. Like that, and that first year post grad is just also really hard. Like you're going from being in classes a couple times a week to like, depending on where you are, maybe working like 9, 10 hour days. And I just was so tired that first year and was like just definitely very uncomfortable, but it got easier and like you definitely get used to it.
Well, what other thing I definitely want to ask you is something that you had mentioned to me that you're passionate about is mindfulness and meditation. Is
Mhm.
that something that you had to learn to practice through like making mistakes and maybe working a lot? Or kind of how has that been something that has developed as a practice in your life, and how has it helped you within your career?
Yeah, I mean, mindfulness has been so important, especially the past couple years in my career. I had always kind of like dabbled in meditation, but it was 2 years ago where I don't really know what changed for me, but I was at home over Thanksgiving, was just feeling really anxious and kind of like had this realization moment of like I need to make this something that's more of part of my routine, like not something I'm trying to do when I'm really stressed at work and I'm like, okay, now I need to meditate and like maybe that'll save me. So I have a regular meditation practice where I meditate every single day for the past 2 years. And sometimes it's just to go to sleep. Sometimes it's on the subway. Sometimes it's like after this podcast, I might sit on the couch and just take 10 minutes. I use Headspace. It's like a very simple app, but it has helped me a lot with the idea of permanence in the workplace, which sounds like a big word, but it's really just that like things are changing all the time. And what might be like bad news today might be good tomorrow, and vice versa. And that has been like a really big challenge for me in my career. And I think that everybody has to go through is like things are always going to be changing at your workplace. Like you're manager might have a baby and go on maternity leave or paternity leave. Your manager might quit, your direct report might quit, your best friend at work might quit, or you get a new CEO or you get a new VP of marketing who comes in and wants to change things. And it can be really tough when you kind of just like dig in and you're like, I just want things to stay the same. And meditation really helps you just kind of be like, okay, like I'm going to take things as they come. And I think like just being in offices can be really stressful. Like I have trouble sometimes in like conference rooms. I can get like claustrophobic. And I think it's like, it's more high stress than people give it credit for, especially in like corporate America and New York City, probably one of the most stressful places that exists. And meditation has just helped me be able to be just a little bit more comfortable. And it doesn't make like my life easier. Like, in fact, in some ways, like things have gotten harder as you grow in your career and you take on more responsibility. But it has just helped me kind of like find pockets of peace in days that are very chaotic and just accept that like things are always going to be changing. And I still have days that I'm just like, I don't want things to change anymore. Like, I would like things to just stay the same for a little bit. So it doesn't make me like a guru or anything. I still struggle like just like everybody else does, but it has changed like just changed the game for me. And I think people in corporate America can really benefit from mindfulness.
That is beautiful. You have me inspired to
Oh.
really start too. Is it like when you started meditating? Because I know I've like, well, even like, in like, let's say I take a yoga class and the instructor is like, close your eyes and like lay
Mhm.
down. Like my mind just has trouble like shutting off. And I've
Yeah.
also tried meditation and it's so hard. Like it can be
Yeah.
so hard. So did you have to like build up to it or like or even just like doing it regularly can be really hard because you always have the excuse of like, oh, I'm so busy, I don't have time
Yeah.
to meditate. How did you kind of make it more of a practice in your life?
It is definitely really hard. I think for me, it was accepting that, like, even now, like 2 years in, I still have days where I'm like, not, I hate, I don't want to say like, oh, this was pointless, but I have days where I'm like, my thoughts are racing the whole time. And I'm like, wow, I didn't actually focus on my breathing at all for the past 10 minutes. But I think a big part of meditation that people don't realize is like the thoughts racing is like the reps of an exercise. So like I try to tell myself that like every time you get distracted and you like bring yourself back to your breathing, that that is a
Mm,
rep and you're getting stronger. But I think it was, and I'm still on that journey of trying to accept that like there's going to be days where I feel like I get nothing out of it. Like I
yeah.
would say the vast majority of meditations, you don't have like oh, an epiphany, or like maybe you don't feel like an intense change afterwards, but on the whole, you will see that it helps. Like I used to have, and I suffer from anxiety. I think a lot of people do. And a big part of like my career has been trying to show up as myself and like be open about that I struggle with that. And I think that can be really hard to do in corporate America. And I've tried to do it and be open like with my colleagues. It's still hard. But I have noticed that like I used to just be anxious at home on like a Monday night. Like we would eat dinner and be sitting on the couch and I would be like, I'm just so anxious right now. And I have noticed that like that does not happen that often anymore. And who knows, it might just be because I'm growing and you change a lot in your 20s, but I definitely think mindfulness has helped a lot there. And it helps teach you habits of like when you're in the office or in your stressful meeting and like you're tense and you're like maybe shaking a little bit, like you have to present or something like that. Like it gives you tools to be able to step out of your body a little bit and be like, oh, like my shoulders are really tense. Like, let me just like
Yeah.
make myself calm down a little bit. Let me practice some like breathing exercises. And it helps you when you're in those really like high stress moments. But I would
Mhm.
not say that I am good at meditation. Like, I think it's something I'm committed to doing. But, you know, like you listen to Headspace and Andy's like a yogi who has done this and lived with the Buddhist monks and meditated for like 5 hours a day. And I'm like, I'm definitely not doing that, but I'm like, committed to at least giving myself like 5, 10, 15 minutes a day where I can just like take a second and breathe.
Yeah. Yeah. I can imagine that can be very helpful if with like handling anxiety. And sometimes I won't meditate, but I notice that if I am racing, but I just take a second to like allow myself to like sometimes even just like feel all the emotions that have like been
Mhm.
happening that day because you're just like running and running and running and just like sitting and being and reflecting. Like you said, like it may not be like the most immediate impact, but I think it kind of maybe prevents some of that like anxiety buildup or that like burnout buildup if you kind of just take those little tiny little breaks to check in
Yeah.
with yourself.
You'll see the difference over time. I would say it's funny. It's like it's just like how I've been saying, like it takes like 6 or 8 months to kind of like feel comfortable in
Yeah.
a job. Like I feel like it took 6 or 8 months before I realized like, okay, like I am seeing some benefits from
Hmm.
this. And like I'm just gonna keep with it.
I also loved your reps analogy, right? It's like when you go to the gym, you don't just have muscles the day after you go to the gym, right? You have to keep
Yeah.
building those up. So I love your little rep analogy.
Yeah. You gotta train the mind. And it's not
Yeah.
easy.
Okay, Natalie. Well, this has been such an inspiring conversation. Do you have any last piece of advice that you would like to share with women in marketing?
Oh gosh, I feel like we hit a lot of the big things that I would say are like the most important things. Um, really being able to put yourself out there and your network, reaching out to people on LinkedIn. You probably will get ghosted like 90% of the time, but you will find people who are willing to talk to you about what they do. I would try to like accept that maybe you're like not going to feel comfortable in a job like right away. Like things are always going to be changing and like that's okay. That's not a bad thing. And then I think like a more tactical tip is like your resume, your cover letter, like that kind of stuff. Like especially if you're going into like PR, the hiring managers are going to be looking for like perfect resumes in terms of like grammar and no spelling errors, like stuff like that. You would be surprised. Like it happens all the time. Like lots of people apply who have errors on their resume or in their cover letter. And that is like just I feel like such an easy thing. Like now there's like ChatGPT and things you can run your resume through to make sure it's perfect. When you're interviewing, like always emailing afterwards and just saying
Mm,
thank you, like just the little things that like you think would be second nature, but sometimes they fall by the wayside. I think that kind of stuff is so important and it will help you stand out.
I love all of those. Amazing. And Natalie, this conversation has been absolutely amazing. I've told you you're my first Natalie on the podcast. Getting used to calling you my name.
Yes.
But thank you again. This has been so much fun. I'm so grateful for you coming on Marketing Girly.
Thank you so much for having me. This was again my first podcast. So fun.
You did
The
great.
hour flew by.